Today's episode is presented by Lodestar, the fee experts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Lending Leaders. I have a very special guest today, Heather Horovitz, who is the SVP of Community Development, Financial Institutions, and Impact Lending at VyStar Credit Union. Also a volunteer, marathoner, swim mom, MBA. Heather, I probably left a few out. I know we were mentors together at the MBA group, and you're probably one of the most motivated people I've ever talked to. Yeah. So thanks so much for coming on. I'm really excited to talk about yourself and also just your journey into the space and kind of the types of things you're working on at VyStar and in the community in Jacksonville as well.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talking about the work that we're doing.
Yeah. So I know we were talking a little bit before we started. You've gone from being a chef in one career to in finance, in banking, and kind of more highly institutional financial roles. But what got you into community development? What got you into the role that you're in now?
Yeah, and I'll give a little context to how you go from being a chef to working in finance. I grew up in the Bahamas and just loved being around the food and beverage industry. And being a chef was just such a great creative outlet. And I just loved bringing people together with food. And I like to talk about the skills that I gained as being an executive chef and how transferable those have been in my career in traditional corporate America. You think about operations management and managing diverse staffs and just really performing under pressure. And although I loved being in that world, it really was a sliding door moment for me to move into finance. And when I was in school for my MBA, it just made sense for me to transition into finance. And I've just loved that journey ever since. And I've had many different roles: revenue analysis, operational management, and then moving into M&A and strategic planning and FP&A. And just really being a part of steering my organizations, kind of like the captain of the financial ship, and helping set strategy that would be beneficial to the bottom line in the organization. All the while really being focused on community and volunteerism. It's something that's super important to me and my family, and we're just very engaged in the community. And when I came to VyStar 3 years ago, it was actually on the finance team. And again, just following my passion with strategic planning and FP&A. But we had the opportunity to pursue becoming a CDFI, so a Community Development Financial Institution. And we've been a CDFI VyStar for about 2 years. And when the role became available, it was such a great marrying of my passion for finance and equity and planning, and also volunteerism and helping people build wealth. And it was really a dream come true, because I was marrying my work passions with my personal passions and being able to drive that for the organization. It was just such a natural fit, and it's been so rewarding.
I mean, every time I've talked to you, the passion about it is one thing that just jumps through the screen. Clearly, it's something that you're very knowledgeable about, but also feel like you're really making a difference, as evidenced by all the awards that I didn't even mention in your introduction, because I didn't want it to take up the entire time. So, when you're looking at community development, looking at impact lending, what do most people get wrong? Like, what do they not quite understand about what you do?
Yeah, I think that what a lot of people get wrong is you can't create loan products or loan programs in a box, in a silo. You have to build those community partnerships and come alongside the nonprofits, the CDCs, the people who are close to it on the ground, and work alongside them, and not try to solve a problem from an office in a tower. We work really closely in the community. We're very engaged, and we have leadership throughout the organization, serving on boards and commissions and on nonprofit boards. So we're close to the people, and we can really understand what's going on, what's needed. What are those barriers to financial entry? What's keeping people from accessing capital? And having those conversations and really hearing from our members and our community members what has been preventing them from accessing loan products, and ultimately being able to build wealth. And so we really keep a close ear to the ground and are very engaged across our communities. So we're meeting people where they are and coming alongside the organizations that are already doing the work and supporting them, whether it's financially or with other resources, so they can achieve their goals, which are ultimately our goals.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, you've mentioned many times your revenue roles focus on the bottom line. I feel like all too often people think that this is, charity work instead of, a focus on the bottom line. And I think there's elements of both, right? Like I always like to say, if the thing that's right can also be the thing that's good for business, and you really want those two aligned. So what does that alignment look like on your end?
It's so interesting because I think that people think about this work and they think of it as charity. And it makes me think about how the credit union motto is not for profit, not for charity. So we exist as a credit union to serve our members and serve our communities. We're not shareholder driven, and we make decisions as an organization that are the right thing for our members and also the right thing for our community. Does that have to be the most profitable decision that we'll make for the organization? That's not always the case. I think that you can really, drive member value. We want to continue to exist. We look out for safe and soundness because we believe in what we're doing in our communities, providing financial services to everyone, especially those that are in under and unbanked areas, and helping educate our members and the community about the importance of having a relationship with a financial institution. And so we look to develop products and partnerships that are going to, be beneficial to the member, but also will drive revenue for the organization. And those two things aren't always separate. We will do things in the community that might cost us money. We do fantastic lending in the community that is, probably not the most profitable, but it's the right thing to do, because at the end of the day, we are a community lender, and we exist to serve our members, and that is our guiding light. I think Lodestar is your guiding star. But putting our members first and helping them build wealth is what motivates us all. And it's such a fantastic culture that has been in place for our whole history that, in this work, I can be, put my arms around that and help us be more strategic and how we're, funding projects that are going to be wealth building and help people access, different products and programs. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're not looking to return value to the organization's bottom line.
And I think you make a good point that there's a whole lot of gray area between being 100% revenue profit motivated and 100% a charitable organization, right? And I think, for a lot of companies, it is your responsibility to make money. It's your responsibility to stay profitable, because that's how you create jobs, that's how you create opportunities. So I think you make a really good point that, we want to make money. We might not make the most money, but there's a big area between that and, effectively feeling like this is just you giving money away, because it's not. That's
Absolutely.
not the case.
And I think, and you can be a good corporate citizen even if you're not giving dollars out or extending loans. We volunteer in the community, and that's a huge focus for the organization. But even opening our doors to allow nonprofits to host events in our spaces, or sending leadership out to speak on panels and educate and just be in the community in other meaningful ways, we're impacting and having a positive impact on the community, even if we're not, giving dollars out.
And do you feel like there's lenders who've been trying to do this in a, maybe not disingenuous way, but a less than effective way? I see this a lot when people are trying to, market in a language other than English, right? You put "se habla español" and you expect that you now have a Spanish lending branch, right? Whereas, there's a way of doing it that's a lot more authentic. And it sounds like you've really, gutting that authenticity. What have you seen for lenders who try to do this in a way that may be less than successful?
It's tough. And I'll speak for us. We are a very diverse organization. And for me, and I love that you say authentic, for me, being authentic, and that's very important to me. And I think that helps you gain trust if you're willing to be yourself and be brave enough to admit when you don't know everything, and really be a good listener, I think, is very important. But we really do stress being authentic here. And by having diverse leadership, we're able to build relationships across a huge spectrum of people, racial backgrounds, religious, sexual orientation, and be considering all the different things that have traditionally kept people from accessing capital, but also funding commercial development that is going to be helping build healthier communities. We donate to a number of different organizations, nonprofit organizations, and our corporate philanthropy is a huge part of who we are. And to continuing to support organizations who are doing that good work is something that is very important to my leadership. I think that what some organizations get wrong is that it's understandable when the economy is, when we really need to focus on the bottom line. But people have very long memories when you pull back and you forget the commitment that you made to them. I think it's really important that you continue to stay engaged, and maybe that engagement changes. Maybe you can't pledge the same amount of dollars that you pledged last year, but that you stay engaged and you're still volunteering and you're still showing up in other ways, because that helps people know that it was important to you then and it's still important to you now. And I think that when you're driven by the bottom line, that forces you to make decisions that make you come off that you're disingenuous, that you were always disingenuous when you were being committed in the first place, if that makes sense.
Right. And there's a balance with kind of a long-term goal. Like you mentioned, being in certain loan products or lending to certain groups that may not be the most profitable. The first 100 loans you lend may not be the most profitable, but that doesn't mean years down the road, the next 100 or anything like that, that changes, right? And that investment in that community, to me at least, seems to be a big part of what you're doing, because, access to capital, access to good jobs and good house, like that is the lifeblood of the economy. And there's unfortunately been a lot of groups that have not had
and we're looking at the entire we're looking at the whole ecosystem. We're looking at you understanding the importance of even having a checking account. Like we advocate to move people out of a cash economy, so you're not going to a payday lender and you're losing so much of your wealth. So from having that first relationship with getting your checking account, through exploring car loan products and mortgages and all the different things that are going to be this journey that you'll be on as you're having a relationship with a financial institution, is something that we're just really passionate about, and helping people understand whether you're making the choice to bank with us or just having general increased knowledge around having a relationship with a financial institution. And there's a lot of distrust depending on the community that you're talking to. And so we've got to break down that distrust through education, but also building trust by being authentic, like you shared, and showing up consistently.
So it seems like the easiest places for institutions to start is having that education, right? Even just something as simple as being banked, right? Having checking accounts, building that credit. Anything else that you would recommend? I know you mentioned kind of the affordable housing and access to capital for groups who traditionally haven't had access to capital. Like, where are some points that you think institutions are really well off starting?
Yeah, I think that especially if you're considering other ways that you can be engaged in the community, there's so much power in educating community members around what you do. So highly recommend speaking on panels, getting engaged at different small business centers. There's so many incubators, accelerators, lots of, special interest groups that are doing this work, and they're just looking for experts to come in so you can be a different voice for their students to hear what you need to be doing, how you prepare yourself for capital, educating around what that debt might look like, how it's going to cost, what it's going to cost your organization long term. The other ways that you can support a small business, being a mentor and just connecting people, being willing to share your network and building relationships. Anybody can do that. And especially if you're in the financial services industry, you can really have a powerful impact on a small business. And that small business thriving, that's the difference between somebody closing shop and not having a living wage, or being able to support their family, and all of the other benefits that can come from having that financial stability and being able to build generational wealth.
No, I think that's a great point. And I think so many lenders look at it of, hey, go talk to this workout person or whatever. And by the time you're ready for a loan, we can have a conversation. And there's so much to be done. You're talking about probably 17 out of 20 when someone's actually ready to talk to a loan officer.
Right.
So I really, I'm impressed.
Our philosophy,
And
our philosophy here, sorry. I'm just going to say our philosophy here is we don't like to say no. We like to say not right now. And this is how we get you to a yes. And we look at that from all areas of our lending, from consumer, commercial to real estate lending. We want to give you the tools to help you get you to that yes. But also on the commercial side, particularly for small businesses, helping you understand when you might need to take on debt and what you need to have, whether it's your 3-year history of financials. I mean, it's amazing how many people I talk to who don't know they need to keep their personal financials and their business financials separate. I mean, the education starts from there. And then what kind of loan do you need to be taking on? And is this going to actually help you scale to a point where that makes sense for you? So we take a very personal approach to our lending, to our underwriting, all of our relationships. Because at the end of the day, that's going to be the best thing for our members. Across our lending, we don't want to get people into any kind of loans that they can't sustain. So it's the education up front. It's really the hand holding through that whole process, and then that support after the loan closes, because that's how you stay apart. We're looking out for our members and not just closing loans, which I think is a huge difference for our organization.
And I think the things as a financial professional, right, that you may take for granted, people don't. Like, I work with a lot of small businesses and been in classes with small businesses, and the number of people that just manage their finances by their bank balance and that's it, still surprises me. Even things like that you would think would be taken for granted of, setting up QuickBooks or doing a P&L every month or something. Like, no, if you don't necessarily know how to do that, if that hasn't been modeled, like, you wouldn't know. So, like, there's a lot of expertise that people can share with people trying to run businesses out there, and businesses that really help the communities that they're in. So wrapping up here, because I feel like we could talk about this for a very long time. We always like asking the questions: what is your lodestar? What is your guiding light? I know you talked a lot about your passion for this work. What gets you up and running? Not only marathons, but doing all of this work and all of the different things that you're looking to do in the community.
Yeah, it's so energizing to see the impact that the work is having in the community. There is just such tangible benefits of the building relationships and seeing deals coming together that are for community good, whether it's an affordable housing project or it's a grocery store in a food desert, and just knowing that every day that we continue to do this, we're making a difference in people's lives, like a real difference that will have lasting staying power. And it just makes me feel, that keeps me working late at night because the work is so important, and I can actually see it coming to life. And every decision that we make as an organization for good, every loan that we fund is changing someone's life. And that is really, really rewarding for me.
I can imagine just literally seeing the benefit, right, as you're driving by those areas and being in that community.
Absolutely.
Too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you so much for the wonderful work that you do. I think the biggest takeaway I have is, like, be authentic and be passionate about, this type of work. And that's what's going to make a difference. And clearly you are. So we really appreciate it, Heather.